Hello, everybody. Hello.
Sound like that lady that used to have the talk show that would fling the scrunchies at the crowd.
Who the hell was that? Kathy
Clang,
Lee?
clang, clang with the trolley.
Ring, ring, ring with the bells.
I can't remember
I
what her name.
only
She was
know this
in.
because of Family Guy. Is this referencing something else?
I don't know what the hell it is.
She
Clang,
was
clang,
in.
clang.
She was in that women baseball movie. She was like.
Oh, Rosie O'Donnell. Oh, my God.
Yeah, you sound like Rosie
She
O'Donnell.
disappeared, eh? She's totally, like... I don't think anyone misses her.
She's actually a good actress.
Yeah, that erotic movie she was in with Dan Aykroyd, that was amazing. So fucking bad. Hello, everybody watching out there in internet land to the Joysticks Canada podcast, Gamescast. I don't even know what to call it anymore. That being said, today is a very special day. It's May the 4th, otherwise known as the day that the Star Wars nerds are let loose and run amok amongst the
Mega geek.
the Omega Geek Ram Lover. I'm one of the hosts of this lovely show, Dan John, and I'm joined by Richard Marginson and Mike Black. Nick Van Vlyman will be joining us whenever the hell he decides to. So he'll just kind of hop on.
Nick's very tardy.
Yes, he's very tardy. I have other words that I'd use to describe him, but tardy's
It's very
definitely...
important.
He's very... So yeah, I kind of figured, there's more than enough Star Wars crap to talk about. We can, pretty much focus just on that for the entire show. Just, there's enough games, TV shows, movies, you name it, that are either out, coming out, chat about even like the first movie we saw in the theater. Yeah, all sorts of fun stuff. Speaking of which, that is kind of a cool little thing that I just popped into my head, was the first movie that I actually ever saw in the theater. I swear to God, and this is kind of aging myself quite a lot, but I swear to God, I remember seeing Jabba the Hutt on a movie theater while I was sitting in someone's lap, like as a child, like a young child. And Jedi was what, 83, right? So I would have been 3. So like that's kind of old enough to have a memory of that, but all I remember was looking at a massive fucking screen with like a big green monster on it and being obviously terrified as hell.
Did you start crying?
Probably, I don't know. I have very, very loose but very vivid memories of when I was like 3 or 4 years old. Can't remember much, but there's a few things where I've like talked to my parents about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, that definitely happened." I was like, "Oh shit, okay." But yeah, that was kind of like the first Star Wars like in theater experience that I had was that, and then like the first real one that I had was obviously Episode 1. I think that's probably most people's.
We saw one in the theater together. That was my first one, and that wasn't Episode 1. That was like...
I guess it was the special edition ones, right? Like they did re-release those in 90. What was it? 94? 90.
Yeah, it's probably like
Something like that?
97, 96,
Yeah.
97.
That was like the first Star Wars movie I saw in the theater. Was when those
me
got
too.
released.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so those are
I
kind of
went to
like
see the first one.
yeah.
And then the second one, I was just like, I don't know if I want to see this because he's changed all sorts of shit. And then I went to go see that, and I was like, I'm not fucking seeing the third one. Fuck this. So I never saw the third one. The specialized editions or whatever in theaters.
Yeah,
And I never went to go see Phantom. I never saw it
Really?
in theaters. I don't actually think I saw any of the prequels in theaters.
holy shit. I was there opening day for all 3 of them.
I think we saw all of them together, Dan.
Probably.
Pretty sure.
Episode 1, I never lined up at all for any of them. I have one of my brother's friends, I'm not even shitting you, I think he took off 2 weeks. 2 weeks to line up for Episode 1. He was
Poor
one of the
guy.
first people in Canada, I think, to see it. But he's
Wow.
he like gets paid, I think, at this point. Like he gets paid to like do cosplay and stuff as people from Star Wars, and like he's in one of those like like stormtrooper regiments or whatever they're called. Like they're like
Oh my
literal
God.
things where like he gets paid to go to places and like do like just appearances or whatever. Anyways,
I will not say anything about that.
he is literally the biggest Star Wars fan slash nerd I've ever met in my life, and it's I wish I was that passionate about anything, but anyways, he's I never lined up for any of them, but I definitely did see all three of the like the prequel trilogy in the theaters. So,
Hmm.
yeah, I wanted to chat about like what our what our most favorite and maybe least favorite Star Wars games were just throughout history, since there's only been about 500 Star Wars games since you know
Give or take.
since the well I guess like the what's the original Star Wars game? Would it have been like I don't even think the 2600 had a Star Wars game, did it?
Arcade Star Wars game.
A Star Wars arcade, like the vectored Star
Yeah,
Wars
the
arcade
Vector
game. I
one.
think that was probably I want
Yeah,
to say that was the first Star Wars video game ever.
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Um,
Uh, Empire says 1982. When was that?
1982. Yeah, that wouldn't have been 2600. That would have been. I'm trying to think. Oh yeah, you know what? The Star Wars arcade game came out on 32X of all things. That was like one of the very, very, very few selling features of the 32X was that it had the Star Wars arcade
Yeah.
game for it. And it ran really well because it was like vector based. The
Yeah.
frame rate was like super quick, and it kind of benefited from the hardware.
It says Star Wars 83 to 88 was the arcade game. I don't know why they put an end date there. And then there was a Commodore 64 game called Death Star Interceptor.
Weird.
I heard of that one.
Oh,
And then the Famicom Star Wars, which I guess was just a port of the arcade game. Then some Star Wars Attack on Death Star 91, Star Wars for the NES 91, Super Star Wars 92 for the SNES,
Huh.
and then Star Wars Arcade 93 re-released for the 32X. That's kind of it. Oh, there's an 82. Oh, hang on. Here it is. Yeah, so it is Empire. Oh, you're right. Atari 2600 and a television. The Empire Strikes Back 82.
fuck! No way.
Yeah,
That's pretty wild. Okay, I had no idea.
that's cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
probably-
So like, what's everyone's favorite Star Wars game that you've actually played? I know. I will happily go first, and it's a kind of like a sibling bonding moment, I guess you could say. It was X-Wing versus TIE Fighter on PC. It's by far my favorite Star Wars game of all time, and a big reason for that, I remember playing it with my brother, who's, I want to say he's almost 9 years older than me, 8 or 9 years older than me. I actually can't remember now. Shit. But we played it on PC together, so I don't know if you guys remember that game that much or as much as I did. I don't know, but you could set it up to be like super advanced controls. So like I would control the keyboard, and he would control the flight stick,
That's
or vice
awesome.
versa. So he would be like divert, super nerding out and everything. He's like divert shields to the actual like friggin' the weapons or whatever. Like move move all the power from the shields
Power
to the
and
weapons. I'm
everything.
like, okay, cool. So
Yeah.
I would hit the keys and like do all sorts of shit on the keyboard, and he would be flying around shooting. I was like, oh, this is so friggin' cool. And I just remember like him and I absolutely loving every minute of that. So it was like,
That's so cool.
like looking back at that, like there's so many good Star Wars games out, but like that was definitely the most like memorable experience. One of the most memorable experiences I've ever had, I think,
Yeah.
with games.
It's adorable.
Stole a tiny bit of my thunder but it was so sweet that I can't be mad at you because X-Wing, the first one, X-Wing was like my kind of seminal PC game. Remember we had a IBM, whatever the fuck it was at the time, set up in the living room. And I don't even know how I got the game. I genuinely do not remember where it came from or even how I got a flight stick for it. But I do remember sitting for hours there, just like playing X-Wing, totally enveloped in like the in the play and yeah, all the power management stuff. And it was just it was like fulfilling fantasies for me that
Oh yeah.
A video game hadn't done before, basically.
Oh, it's yeah. It was such a cool experience, man. And like you didn't know what you were missing back then either, because it was like, yeah, games look so much better now, but I'm like, who gives a shit? That at the time, that was like, I was piloting a TIE fighter or an X-wing or whatever. It's like, holy crap.
I have played the new one. It's great, and it's got all the same sort of stuff, but also I don't have my headset out anymore, so I can't put it on somewhat mockingly. But you know, like in VR, it's just like, fuck, I'm in this cockpit. Like
I still haven't played it in VR. Yeah.
Okay, all right, fine. So like 20 years later, whatever, it's incredible, but more than 20 years. I don't know how long ago that would have been. 25 years, but
well, even longer now, almost 30 years probably.
In my, whatever 11 or 12-year-old brain, like it was just the greatest thing that has ever happened.
Oh yeah. No, it was incredible, man. Like in terms of like immersing yourself in like the whole Star Wars universe and stuff, those games still have done it better than I think any other Star Wars game that I've played. Yes, the Squadrons though, it is good, but I just found I don't know what it is. It just it hasn't like. It hasn't moved along with other games as I would have hoped it would. Like it's too much like the original like X-Wing and TIE Fighter games, where it's like, okay, I get it. There's dogfighting. What else? Like, well, that's it. I'm like, well, okay.
But you're wearing your Quest too.
Yeah, that's true.
Therefore, it's way better.
That's true.
Than anything you experienced beforehand.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, Mike. Have you played many of the Star Wars games or like?
Yeah, like I like the N64 one. The
Shadows of the Empire. Yeah, Shadows of the Empire was awesome.
That was pretty fun.
That was really good.
I was pretty blown away by that. I thought the visuals for it were pretty awesome at the time. Like, truth be told, I've never been a big Star Wars fan, but like I wanted to try the game because I thought it looked so cool. So that was neat, and I devoured Knights of the Old Republic. The first one and the second one. Love both of them. First one for sure is my favorite, though. Yeah. That's what got me into that developer, I think. I think that's why I played Mass Effect, is because I liked Knights of the Old Republic so much.
Yep. I think that's why a lot of people who got into BioWare stuff is just because of KOTOR, right? It's like...
yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm. That's why I was hyped for the first Mass Effect. I read the book as a prequel, like, preface it before I even played the game. And then when the game came out, I was like, well, this kind of stinks.
Well, Mass Effect?
Yeah.
You're like, the book's better than the game. How is this even possible? I get to play the game.
I got stuck with the fucking rover thing on a bunch of spots. Like I couldn't start the game and move back the progress, and I just quit. So anyway, yeah, I'm totally with you. Who is it? It's BioWare, right?
Yeah.
If they were to make another one of those, like a modern one of those, I'd totally be down. I have tried to go back and play KOTOR. I don't know if anyone else has tried to do that. I've tried it on PC with some mods installed to like get it running performance-wise, and I've tried it on iPhone.
Yeah, it's on mobile too, which I'm like, huh? That seems...
Yeah, and it's just stinks. The mobile one that stalled at the swoop races, which is like ridiculously early on. I didn't even make it off. I think the PC one I finally made it off, and I made it to like the training montage or whatever that he goes through. But it was choppy. It was tough to like pick up gear and stuff off the ground. It was just not a well optimized experience.
Weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still kind of confused why they even like released that game for mobile. Seemed a little bit weird.
I don't know. It's a travesty that game is I wouldn't say unplayable, but it's in as bad of a state that it is in modern times, given all the other stuff that we've had re-released. Like somebody should spend some time and money on getting that into a better state, and um,
Which
excuse me,
KOTOR?
absolutely pay for it. Yeah,
There's a rumor that that's being remade. Actually, I heard that just a
know.
week ago on one of my podcasts.
Or
So
remastered, like
I've
KOTOR?
heard that rumor recently too, but I've heard that
yeah,
rumor before, and I've
so
yet
that'd
to
be
see it
exciting.
delivered on.
Well, they might as well. Like if the Mass Effect Legendary Edition thing looks like it's gonna be pretty killer. So it was funny because I was watching the comparison video that they released recently for Mass Effect, like the Legendary versus like the original, and like I was looking at that kind of like it looks like a bit better, but like the original game still looks awesome. And like a lot of the comments were like, "Holy shit, this just makes you realize how good the original game looked." Where like it almost looks the same and it still looks awesome. Like they definitely have like upgraded it. Like it's all 4K and it's all like all these crazy post-processing things that they've added to the game, but it still looks like the character models still look awesome. Like they haven't really had to do a whole lot to it to upgrade it. But to your point, Richard, that whole rover thing on like in Mass Effect 1, apparently that's one of the like one of the first things they were saying that they fixed was like the rover missions or whatever don't suck now. Like
Yeah.
they all but said that.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, good.
I've got a buddy of mine who's replayed those a couple of times, and I'm super jealous of like him being so into them. And I'm, if I wasn't 38 and 2 kids and full-time job, I'd totally be down for like this is gonna be my 120-hour project now. I was gonna totally invest in these video
Yeah,
games.
yeah. When I saw it announced, I was like, "That's cool. I'll never play it." Next, like I'd love to be able to play it, but I could play and beat about a dozen other games instead during that
Yeah.
time. So
But it would be a worthwhile experience, and
I know.
I think it would be. Maybe if you've played them before, maybe not. I don't know, but I haven't played them before, so I've never played 2. I've never played 3. I've played just a tiny bit of 1. So for me, I think that would be a pretty worthwhile endeavor to kind of embark on. But we're talking like a multi-year journey at this point in my life. That to your point, like I would be missing out on a whole lot of things that would be a little bit more bite-sized and probably
that's the
more
thing.
doable for my current state.
I'd rather play Ratchet and Clank and Resident Evil and a few other games. Like
Right.
I'd rather kind of
You already
disperse
played them though, didn't you? Dan?
disperse my time. I played Mass Effect 1 quite a
you did.
lot. I got really far in Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 2, I tried a little bit. Mass Effect 3, I tried a little bit. Even Andromeda, I played a little bit.
Oh, jeez.
Like post-mega patch that they released to try to fix that entire game. Mass Effect 3, like gameplay-wise, Mass Effect 3 was definitely the best feeling of all of them. It felt almost like I don't know, like almost like a cover shooter, but with more strategy. Like you could do like magic, which was basically magic. It was just like sci-fi version of magic, whatever you want to call that. Like the Force is basically magic. But yeah, Mass Effect 3 was definitely the best gameplay wise, but yeah, getting back to Star Wars, guys, fellas, gents. Now that we've kind of covered our I can't really think of my least favorite Star Wars game. I'm like, there isn't really one. Like I tried thinking of one. I'm like, least favorite game. I don't know.
I tried a bit of what was it called? Force Arena on mobile.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, okay. Well, mobile. Yeah, okay. Mobile games should be stricken from.
Are they? Okay.
Even though I know you still play probably that.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Is like my daily mobile game is a Star Wars game. But okay,
Was it
if
Tiny
we strike
Death
those
Star
for
or
the record,
something?
then yeah, I don't really think I've played a bad Star Wars game.
That's the thing. I haven't played one where I'm like, fuck, what a piece of crap. Like maybe that
Yeah.
like lightsaber connect one, but I never actually played that because I
never
was like,
played that
I'm
one.
staying away from that thing.
Yeah, I didn't have a Connect, so I made it easy.
See, I did, and I still was like, nope, don't want to play that. So I don't know. But in terms of movies, though, now that Nick's joined, we can actually talk about
here.
favorite Star Wars movie and least favorite Star Wars movie.
The episodes 1 through 3, it doesn't matter what
Wait,
order,
they're interchangeable.
1 through 3 in terms of hate, and then favorite. I don't know. I'm gonna have to say, does miniseries count, or are movies the only thing we're talking about?
I'm talking about like movies, like episodes, 1 through 9, Solo, Rogue One.
Then I think Rogue One.
Yeah, eh?
As much as I liked Solo, I think I liked Rogue One. It was a little darker. It was meant to be a little darker.
Yeah.
I found Solo too falling on the tropes that a lot of Marvel movies now are falling on, like just bright, colorful, polished. Not gritty, not anything of that nature. And when you think of Solo, I think of Tatooine, and I think of dirty and musky, and like, how did you get there? Like, you had to walk on people's backs and do dirty, dastardly things, and that movie wasn't it.
Yes, yeah. Solo's supposed to be basically an asshole, like a kind of like a backstabbing asshole to a certain extent. And yeah, that character in that movie just didn't seem like that kind of guy. He was way too nice and like likable, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, Rogue One. Oh, sorry. Go on, Richard.
I was gonna say he's roguish, right? Like you're not sure if he's gonna do the
Yeah.
right thing or the wrong thing. Part at the end where spoiler for the movie Han Solo coming in, like where he shoots Woody Harrelson. Like, all right, that's you know, you start to see like, okay, he'll do the right thing even if it means killing somebody, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, and I think a lot of people kind of get shied away from Star Wars movies because they're like, you're shooting troopers, you're shooting people with helmets on, so they're not really perceived as people,
Yeah.
as individuals, right? And I think it's interesting because in the new trilogy, Finn obviously takes off his helmet, and so you immediately are able to create a projected understanding of what this person's going through as a conscripted individual who's been pushed into working or being a part of that army. Whereas everything up until that point, they're just shooting troopers or they're shooting droids, right? So you don't really think about the death toll or the implication of what that person or that it was a person. So shooting Woody Harrelson, it's a big moment because it's like you've just shot a person, when in reality these whole movies are about shooting people.
Yeah. Or in the Stormtroopers case,
Blowing
not
up
not
people.
shooting people.
Blowing up planets.
Exactly.
Like I think like Mike's got it playing in his background here, and I think the first trilogy had redeemable parts to it. Everything with exception to Hayden Christensen,
Oh fuck
and
no.
and him being attached to it whatsoever. I mean, I think this is where Lucas and whoever did the casting for this was like, hey, if we get like a big name or a name that people can associate with, then it'll make things better, right? And I think a lot of people immediately said, well, you casted the original movie with nobodies, and or virtual nobodies, and I think that's what kind of helps nurture these roles a little bit more, because then they're nobody to you and they're creating iconic roles out of those.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's one of the things that I don't know. They obviously had a lot of money thrown at them because it was like if Lucas was like, "Hey, here's $250 million or whatever the hell it was, like do what you can with this." He's like, the first thing he's gonna do is like, "Oh shit, what actors can I get with this?" It's like you're not gonna, because the actors are gonna draw people to the movie, right? At least that's what Because like when the original Star Wars came out, it didn't make like $200 million opening weekend. It took a little while for it to like take off. Because like, what the hell is this Star Wars thing? It was all word of mouth and all that kind of stuff. So I do agree. I wish they had have used more like no name actors for the original trilogy, because they could have just started off from scratch. Because no one knew what Anakin looked like when he was a kid. No one knew what Qui-Gon Jinn looked like, for Christ's sake. Like, what? They didn't need Liam Neeson for that. They could have just used anybody. And like Obi-Wan, it's like, great. Ewan McGregor was, he was fine as Obi-Wan, I guess. He was totally fine.
Ewan McGregor's a fantastic actor, man.
Oh, he is, but they didn't need him. They could have used like any fucking British actor for that.
You're right, but counterpoint. How many years later? Like almost 20 years later, we're gonna benefit from Ewan McGregor in the General Kenobi or the Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay, but you know what? Let me counter-challenge that, because I think it wouldn't have mattered who it was. They probably would have been able to do it, knowing the money-making engine that Marvel has turned everything into, and how Disney is now benefiting from the miniseries and everything else. I mean, the reality is, the pandemic happened at the right time in the worst possible way. For a lot of things, but TV and streaming services are just like booming right now. Everything from Picard to all of these miniseries have had such a massive resurgence, and they've thrown money at the production value, and that's the big takeaway in all of this. It's like, yeah, in order to make money, we're going to have to spend a little bit of money. We're not just going to make this, cheesy, made-at-home kind of video in the basement type of thing. We're going to throw some production at it. I mean, not big budget like a movie was. I mean, there's certainly some of the CG is kind of questionable.
It's close to it, though, man, some of these.
But plausible deniability kicks in, and you're like, it's Star Wars.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. I'm willing to forego those little nuances, and the scenes with Ahsoka, that was money, that was bank, right? I mean, and of course now people are like, holy shit, after Clone Wars she disappeared. If you've read the books, then you kind of have an idea as to where she's gone, but for everybody else, then now you have the ability to introduce, like what happens to her. And again, like they introduced Luke Skywalker to the end of it too, right? So all of these things are now being tied in to fill those gaps. Like, what happened in all of those years between, Ben destroying everybody and going crazy and like slaughtering all of the Padawans and the learners or whatever, to Luke, right? Yeah, right. So it was a little disappointing that they didn't do a better job with Luke, knowing full well that, somebody with a little bit of what's the technology for duping people's faces? It's off the top of my tongue.
Deep fake.
Thank you. Deep fake. They deep faked Luke's face afterwards, and it was like head over tails better.
And it took the guy 2 hours apparently to do it or something.
Yeah. So hopefully studios learn a bit of a hard lesson. It's a tough pill to swallow, but I think the vast majority of people are going to forgive them on the nuance of a wow kind of feel to it, right?
So going back to your whole thing about like no-name actors and all that kind of stuff, like that's one of the reasons Rogue One I thought was so good, was because like at no point during the movie was I taken out of the experience by watching some big huge AAA actor. It was like I recognized everybody kind of, but none of them were huge blockbuster stars.
Forrest Whitaker?
I was just gonna say,
yeah, he's good, but he's such a friggin' good actor though. He was such a good actor though, man. He just consumed that character, and he wasn't Forrest Whitaker in that movie at all. It was like someone completely different. But like all the actors in that movie, they were all so. Yeah, they were like C or B list actors kind of thing. Like I've seen her in something. I can't remember her name though. Like that was everybody. That was everybody in that movie.
And one of the guys.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go.
I watched it with my wife. She's like, "Oh, the guy from Dirty Dancing, Havana Nights." I was like,
"What's up?
What the fuck is that? I don't know who that is." It's just some guy.
Well, I was gonna say one of the Jedi guards or whatever the priests at the temple, right?
Yeah.
I forget whatever his name is. Fairly well known.
Ip Man, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. He's a a big name. I guess,
But again, he played a really good role, and I think when you've got there's a certain pedigree for certain actors that can play to their strengths, and looping back to Hayden Christensen and even the young kid from the original trilogy, just terrible acting. I mean, like Haley Joel Osment did a better job in the limited amount of kid movies that he did than this kid did. And of course, the actor who played Anakin looks back and goes, "I never acted after that because I got ridiculed." Right? His life was murderous afterwards. Right? So I mean, like you want to talk about a PTSD moment when are part of a massive worldwide phenomena franchise, and you're looked at butchering a role, right?
Yeah. Yep. As we watch Mike's background with that one battle that I think had some redeeming qualities in that trilogy.
I gotta wonder if they were just asked to swing stuff around just haphazardly, and they would just kind of cut a whole bunch of stuff together. It's like just be menacing.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I need to talk about my least favorite and my most favorite. Favoritist. I'm gonna go with favoritist.
Yeah, multiple favorites, I guess.
Yeah. So least favorite has to be episode 2, the Attack of the Clones, whatever it was. There's zero redeeming qualities in that movie, whereas like episode 1 had. I think Richard and I were talking about this briefly earlier. Like, it had pod racing. I don't give a shit what anyone says. The pod racing was amazing.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was so much fun. It's still awesome to watch. I still love it. And obviously that Darth Maul Obi-Wan fight was just it was so great at the time. It's still pretty fun to watch even now. I'm like, and Jake Lloyd was absolutely terrible. Jar Jar Binks was absolutely terrible. Like, there's a lot of shitty bits in that movie. It's like, it's difficult to watch now, but like, it had some redeeming qualities. Even episode 3 had like the whole arc where it's like, oh, you're seeing Anakin go fucking ballistic, and like he's turning into Darth Vader now. Like, this is like, it was really kind of cool, like, for a little bit of the movie. But like Attack of the Clones, though, man, I can't even remember the movie. All I remember from it was the ridiculous scenes where Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman are rolling around in the goddamn lawn or whatever with the oh my god, fuck. I've tried to forget that entire movie.
I think the scene that resonates with me the most is the scene where they're at the table eating, and he uses the Force to lift the finger or lift the fork and feed her, type of thing. And I'm like, one, that was absolutely atrocious. Two, if you think of the age difference, like even just factoring in
it's messed up
difference between these characters, it's absolutely atrocious. Like, they couldn't have found a better way to do this. The pod racing aspect, I'm going to circle back to that one really quick. I think there are parts of it that are good, but I think the unnecessary comical aspects are what deterred away. And I think at that point, Star Wars was going the route of what made the first one uniquely funny was the charisma between Han Solo and Princess Leia, and the bantering that they had.
It was the dialogue. It was the dialogue and the characters. It wasn't like stupid slapstick shit. It was.
It felt organic. It felt like it belonged. It felt like you had a confliction, a friction between two different very strong personalitied individuals, and then with this one they went a completely different route. Now, recognizing that we also were coming off of Batman with bat suits that had nipples and all sorts of stuff. So I mean, like, the 90s had all sorts of really wonderfully crazy stuff, and I can't exactly remember when the episode 1 came out. Was it
99?
Okay, so 99. So we're at the tail end of what I would define as one of the worst decades of overall movie, because like CG was just shit and overused. They were using it as a solution for literally everything. Practical effects took a backseat. Thankfully, a lot of people have recognized how to do practical effects more efficiently and effectively, and that leads to a more believable atmosphere. Honestly, even the pod racing, I was just like, it felt short, it felt stupid, and I've seen anime do it better, and I've said Redline before. I would watch Redline over pod racing.
Oh yeah,
without
like
even a question.
This like today, you're not wrong, but like back then, holy crap, was it ever like? It blew my mind.
Have you guys seen
More
the
than anything's
definitive
blown my
edition
mind.
where they stitched together all 3 movies into one?
What? They did a supercut?
Yeah, so I'm gonna.
Does it last
share
like
this
6
out.
minutes or
I've got
something?
a copy. Let me explain to you what they did. Okay, so they put together those 3 movies into like one. Like, okay, just watch these 3. These are the prequels, and this is what I plan to do with my children. They will watch this. They will not watch the originals until such time as they can deal with Jar Jar. So. In the first
You're
movie,
you get to watch the full thing.
Yeah.
They're gonna make me watch it. I know they are. They already know about Jar Jar from like books that we read. Anyway, the only scene from the entire first movie is the fight with Darth Maul. And the entire movie, the entire like supercut starts with that, and that's it. That's the only thing that's in there. Everything else is like from the other 2 movies. Nothing else from the first movie made it into that supercut.
None of it's necessary.
It's all completely.
Aren't you supposed to empathize with Anakin somehow, though?
No, you
How
don't
else are you
know.
supposed to empathize with the guy?
He's a stupid kid. No one gives a shit.
Because Padawan. We're good. Don't worry.
You know what? So to Mike's point, I think while you want to understand where he started, I think that first movie was a complete toss away for building a character. All you're doing there is introducing the character, introducing him that he's got some mechanical skill, right? He supposedly built C-3PO, right? I love how that fact is never really talked about ever really again, that, he winds up with Luke, right? And there's no there's no touch points between any of this stuff. It's like, okay, sure.
The young Anakin should have been like 20 minutes of a movie, and then it should have been like 10 years later kind of thing. It's like, now he's grown up. But yeah,
well, and then,
sorry,
and then
Richard.
It would have made more sense with Natalie Portman then too, right? I mean, there wouldn't have been as much of a tragic age gap and maturity gap between the two. Like it really felt like, she's in her 20s and he's 9, and it feels wrong in every which way that you think about it.
Yep.
Hey, maybe on Naboo things are a little bit different. Who knows?
Well, they do have Jar Jar Binks characters and a whole race of them, so. And how they never went extinct is far beyond me, and they developed advanced technology, so, I mean, they all can't be stupid.
Oh, God. So many issues, so many plot holes. For quickly, just gonna mention my favorite Star Wars movie of all time, because I just feel like it. It's extremely cliched. It's Empire Strikes Back. We can move on.
The correct answer.
It's one of the most perfect movies ever made, just in my opinion.
I'm a return fan.
Really? I still liked Return of the
Battle,
yeah.
at the space battle.
Yeah.
At the Jedi fight.
Ewoks.
Richard's like, I don't remember Ewoks. Ewoks don't exist.
Younger than all of you.
Yub nub.
Oh, barely. Come on, give me a break, Yub Nub. Actually, I think Nick's only 26 or something.
Clone Wars, I agree, is the worst one, man.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones was like, I actually can't remember.
I actually can't remember.
No, whatever. I
haven't seen
actually.
Clone Wars.
Well, you know what? Neither have I. Speaking of which, that is a lovely
Clone
little
Wars?
segue. It's a lovely little segue into Star Wars shows and movies that are coming out in the next little bit.
Exciting.
I think you guys are going to enjoy Bad Batch until you watch 8 seasons of Clone Wars.
I got to the last season, and I don't think I was able to do it. And then I wanted to desperately find out what happened to Ahsoka and in Anakin, right? And so I think I skipped most of it, like I just read the synopsis,
Mm.
and then I got to the last 4 episodes, and I was just like, I'm just gonna watch this because that makes more sense, and that's what I did. I think with the Clone Wars, they did an outstanding job with the technology, and I think the art style kind of works in their favor. It felt like the first season felt like reboot almost in terms of
Oh, the level of technology.
Don't.
well,
Yeah, the first season is just you watch it to get it out of the way, and then you go on to the next season.
you get introduced to first to the hierarchy of leadership and where they all kind of fall into it, and it kind of sets the tone. Realistically, I think most of the seasons are all kind of more or less recycled content, with exception to like a handful of seasons where they're battling like certain characters that have notoriety that play a larger role in the universe. But yeah.
I don't know. I was saying earlier before the cast started that Darth Maul really came into his own. It's only fitting that that's the scene that's playing behind Mike here. Like, to me, like, he was the most underutilized character in that movie, and he has the most interesting story arc over the course of 7 seasons, I guess, in Clone Wars. So you really get a sense of who that character was and what his motivations became, and they basically resurrected or exhumed him from death after you see that first movie, and he really took a central role in the overall plot development and a lot of the narrative around that Republic versus Separatist war. I thought it was really, really well kind of retconned, if you want to put it that way, the way that they brought him back in and implemented him.
Well, and it wasn't just him; it was others in his grouping as well. And I don't want to ruin it, obviously, right? But like it was their whole society, because I mean, up until now, we'd never seen another character that was quite as fitting as Darth Maul, and so now you get introduced into a whole planet worth of people in a society that is their goal, is kind of, and if you kind of relate it back to like Star Trek, it's like the equivalent of like Klingons, right? They're a warrior race essentially.
The men are warriors, the women are witches, and we all fucking want to go over shit. It's really cool. I mean,
Patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
When or how I came about watching it, like, it's a lot. Like, there's a lot of episodes, and they're 20 minutes or whatever each, but still, like, you're talking like 24 episode seasons, you're talking 7 seasons. There's this 8th season that came in. Like, it's a lot to go through, but
see, I would watch a 2-hour like synopsis kind of thing, like even if it's 2 hours, I would watch like a 2-hour kind of like compressed version.
Like, and there's so many things that they explore, like so many different parts of the Force. The first time that you hear about this dyad in the Force, the thing that Rey and Kylo become, is in Clone Wars. You see this dyad, and there's like these 3 Force sensitive users that live on this separate planet, and they're basically at constant battle with each other. And you learn about this dyad, like one of them is the father, and then the 2 children are like one's evil, one's dark, one's light, and the way that kind of sets the tone for then what you see in Rey and Kylo. If you haven't seen that sort of stuff, you're not going to lose out on anything, guaranteed. Like, you totally get what it is that they're going for with these dyads, but like that whole arc of like 2 or 3 episodes that they did on that planet with those people was incredible. It was really good content that plays into the larger universe that eventually turns into like the whatever they call it, the new trilogy. There's stuff in there that's worthwhile. It's just I'd say, if you were to selectively watch, I'm sure you could Google or we could give you like some grouping of like, okay, watch these 4 episodes, then skip like these 12 episodes, and then watch these 4, because they do it in groupings. They do arcs, right? Like you're going to go through this arc of 3 or 4 episodes. All the Mandalorian stuff, the Mandalorian Wars and so on, is really well done with Bo-Katan, and you get a good sense of that, and then how she comes into the Mandalorian. Like, you'll get a better sense of how she plays in that role versus how she was in the Clone Wars. So there's some arcs in there that you could probably watch and get a sense of, rather than watching a 2-hour movie. You could just watch be more than 2 hours, but you could watch like 7 or 8 of these arcs and get some really cool storylines in there. It's like reading comics, right?
Yeah.
Just dive in, watch those things, then dive back out.
Yeah, I guess if you think of like each episode as a comic book, then it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
read
Some of
these
them
read these
are
12
serial.
issues or whatever, and you'll
Exactly. Some of
get
them are
enough.
serial, like they're all interconnected. But then, like the Bad Batch ones that we were talking about, like you could watch the Bad Batch ones. They're one after the other. There's only 2 or 3 of them, and you would then get everything that you need to know about the Bad Batch. You would get, and then you could watch like the Echo arc where he like trays and does the thing that he does that then turns him into the thing that he turns into.
Yeah.
Then he becomes part of the Bad Batch, right? Like you could probably cherry pick some stuff out of that series if you didn't want to invest everything that you need to invest for those seasons.
So speaking of Bad Batch,
I don't remember what job I was at the time, but I definitely watched all those episodes.
on your second
100%
monitor,
guaranteed.
it's like, oh no, it was my entire monitor.
100% guaranteed. I don't remember what it was, but I did watch them that way.
But yeah, Bad Batch though, I tried to watch. I almost got through the whole episode, but I didn't realize what bloody time it was, and I didn't realize how long the episode was. I was like, holy shit, it's like an hour and 20 minutes or something. I was like, whoa. Okay, I gotta go. Yeah, it's like almost a full-on movie. I'm like, holy shit, it's good. It's very good. I actually really enjoyed it, and I watched it with my 8-year-old, who was like, he was asking a lot of questions, but he was glued to it. He's like, this is, what's that guy? What's his name again? Like, what are those aliens with the long necks? I was like, oh, they're Kaminoans or whatever. It's like, they made the clones. He's like, okay. Like he was invested, and he was like, oh, this is really cool. But yeah, like even as someone that hasn't, I really haven't watched Clone Wars. I watched maybe the first 2 or 3 episodes when Disney Plus first kind of started up. I was like, oh, cool, Clone Wars. I've never watched this before, and I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes with him again. It was definitely cool, but things happen, and it's like I just never ended up watching any more of it. And then this whole Bad Batch coming out, I was like, you know what, shit, I should probably check this out. It's definitely pretty cool. I think Richard and I were both were almost in agreement with like that one character is very one-dimensional. The Rex or whatever his name is, Raka or Wrecker. Yeah, he's I kind of thought that he was like the kid-friendly character, who's just like, ha ha ha, I'm the comic relief and I like to break things. I'm like, okay,
Dummy.
yeah, he's a big dummy.
I'm gonna wreck it.
I'm gonna wreck it, and
then he
kids are
has
gonna love him.
that
Kids are gonna love him, right? So they
And of course, that teddy bear, they're going to start selling those, I'm sure.
oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah, for sure.
he'll be the one that every
In,
kid wants,
in the
right?
mobile game I play, he's got now the coolest animation. So they introduced him a couple weeks back. But his animation for one of his moves, he picks up, like he materializes a B1 battle droid, the Roger droid.
Ha!
He just tears it in half and then takes the 2 halves and just starts beating the opponents with it. Totally, like I'm sold on him. But then I was saying to Dan, like, just like, and he had no personality, just completely flat, just like I'm gonna run and wreck it. Which is fine. Like, okay, to your point, like I was referencing. I don't know if anyone else has watched Rebels, but in Rebels, there's Zeb, who has at least a few more dimensions to him, but he's also kind of like, I'm just gonna go in and wreck it kind of guy. But eventually, he gets a lot more depth to him with some background episodes. The challenge with these guys is like they're all from the same batch. Like they're just like, or not the same batch, but they're all from, like, they don't have a Lomer, wherever Zeb is from. Like he's got a planet, you can go to the planet, you can explore that and all that sort of stuff. Same thing with Ezra and Kanan, all these guys, but you don't have that with these guys. They, like, what you're starting with in the first episode of Bad Batch is kind of the genesis of, or at least the kind of the point where this thing is going to take place now. So there's still a large part of unexplored Star Wars territory there in post Order 66. You see that a little bit with Kanan, who's Caleb in that first episode. Again, slight spoiler, but like that's the genesis of that guy for Rebels, and hopefully they go and kind of happen to meet a bunch of other Jedis who have escaped or gone into isolation or what have you. Like there's just a lot of space there, but not a lot of space for them to explore the depth of these characters. They are who they are. They are who you saw in the Clone Wars, and he's just going to be a big dummy who runs into battle. Like, it's going to be pretty pretty boring character for 16 episodes.
But not even that. Think of the other character, right? They introduced a kid character, Omega, and it'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, like the end piece of it was interesting, right? I mean, I've never been anywhere, so it's kind of that awe factor about space, and of course they zoomed into her eyes, and you see the light show going on with them jumping light speed. But if you pay close attention as they're inputting all the commands to the ship and they're getting ready to leave, you can see that there's like an aspect of, oh, she's intelligent, right? She was working with that medical whatever person type of thing. So, I mean, there's obviously something else there that they're not necessarily... But there's a lot of foreshadowing as her technical ability. I mean, she was able to shoot a rifle, no problem, right? So, once they kind of dive a little bit more into her backstory, like what is her genetic makeup? Like, why is she a female? Why is she doesn't look like any of the other clones, but she is a clone?
Yeah, that was the interesting part. Was like she is a clone, but she's like a special, like genetically modified, like unique one-off creation or whatever you want to call it.
Filtration unit.
Yeah. So that's, I don't know. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I'll keep watching it for sure. I know the only other show coming out this year was that Book of Boba Fett, which is like apparently December.
Oh, really?
Which, when Disney says something's coming out at a certain time, I'd like to believe them. So, and since it's streaming online, the show's probably done. It's just at this point they're, editing, post-production, all that kind of stuff. So, and they did tease it at the end of Mandalorian season 2, wasn't it? Like the post-credit scene or whatever. They were like when Boba Fett sat in the throne in Jabba's palace. It was like, oh yeah, baby.
Throne, yeah.
I was like, that's awesome. And it was like Book of Boba Fett coming to 2021. I was like, oh. So yeah, that was. So I can believe that coming out.
That sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
But
I can believe that coming out this year, and I know season 3 of Mandalorian is going to be next year, but. In terms of games, I know Star Wars Squadrons keeps on getting updates.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and like they were saying, oh, we're not going to release any updates for the game. I'm like, what the hell? They keep on releasing like new DLC and stuff. Like, well, what the hell? Because I don't think they expected it to sell as much as it did.
Well, it was a $30 game, right? So I mean, you expected very little from it, but I mean, I think it opened the door, especially with the VR aspect, right? I mean, a lot of people were just like, I just want to fly in an X-Wing or a TIE fighter all over again, bring back the 90s, and they did such a good job with it. I mean, like, some of their scenes, like, I was into it, but then I was just like, it just felt so recycled after about the 10th time that I didn't do it. And then I was trying to play the story missions, and I kind of just lost interest in it.
Well, that's the thing. Like, because, like, the Battlefront, I don't know if Battlefront 1, but I know Battlefront 2 had the whole dogfight, like the really good dogfighting in space. Good. But then they had a fully fledged single player campaign. They had all the multiplayer stuff. You could play as any character. You could ride in the AT-ATs and the ATSTs and all that. Like Star Wars Squadrons, like you can dogfight in ships. Like what else can you do? There's nothing else. There's nothing else.
Yeah, the Battlefront 2 stuff was.
It was limited. It was limited. I know that for sure. Yeah.
It was very limited, and it was very arcadey and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So they're different, but even like some of the even the single player for Battlefront 2 was. It
was fine. It was fine.
Okay. Yeah.
But the fact that they included that as like this game, obviously it was a full price like AAA game and everything, but like
sure was.
Like Squadrons,
brand new.
Oh yeah, same here. Yeah, Squadrons was like, it was almost like it was teasing something better, if you know what I mean. It was like, fuck, this could have been so much better.
It's gotten incredible, right? Like they kept supporting it, and they really went to town, like fixing stuff after post launch with the unlockables and everything like that.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the post launch content that they released was really good and added to the game. So I haven't played any of that shit. I was there for the start of it and exactly have an enjoyable time.
I still have to play in VR.
Are you talking about Squadrons?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I'm talking about Battlefront 2.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were
Battlefront
talking
2
about
is still
fucking.
like a super well-supported game.
Yeah, Battlefront 2 is
Squadrons,
like
yeah,
it's leaps and
incredible.
bounds. Yeah, Battlefront 2, they shit the bed when it first came out. It was like the
Completely.
most bombed game of all time, and then it was like,
Yeah.
oh, oops, okay, how about we make it
because
good
of the
now?
loot boxes and microtransactions and shit.
Oh, dude, that was
There was
just
there was a big thing around
ridiculous.
the loot boxes, but it was mostly the time to unlock. So there
It's
were
like 8,000
they
hours
tried
or
to,
something.
Yeah, it was something like that. Like if you wanted to free to play unlock Darth Vader for Battlefront 2, which like just for context for anyone who hadn't played Battlefront 2, the way that you unlock legendary characters is you accumulate these battle points in battle, and then you can cash them in for like, now I'm gonna pilot an ATST, now I'm gonna pilot an AT-AT, now I'm gonna be fucking Darth Vader. So in order to even unlock the ability to be Darth Vader in the game, you had to spend these battle points outside of the game that you would then unlock the ability to spend battle points in match, like CS:GO or Counter-Strike style. Like you would accumulate cash and you would spend it. So yeah, their whole thing was like, it's basically impossible for somebody to get to the point of being able to be Darth Vader without spending money. They almost immediately rolled that back. I think it was within like a few days they rolled that back and changed the unlock rate.
Dude, it was such a goddamn disaster that I think Belgium or whatever.
Backlash.
Yeah, Belgium was like they outlawed loot boxes or some shit because of this. I was like, holy Christ!
Yeah.
Like countries like started adding laws, like federal laws against this stuff. I'm like, oh my god, way to go, Battlefront 2.
When Squadrons released, everybody was like, "Oh, fucking watch out!"
Yeah.
You know, Battlefront 2. Everybody remembers, and then it was just like, "No, everything's fine."
It's
Like,
like,
you
oh
can have
wait,
everything, and I hear it all is. It's like,
it's all free. Here's all the
guys
free
learned-
DLC.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and I think EA has developed a bad reputation. I mean, they've always had a really shady, from a corporation standpoint, right? As a publisher, you know, their money model is questionable at best. And you know, but Epic is like that too these days, right? But
Epic's no better. Epic's no better.
But they've gotten the way they've positioned these loot boxes now is that while you can pay money, the loot boxes are nothing than visual styles, right? It's to basically say, hey, I've spent more money than you, right? But there's no applicable difference to the gameplay whatsoever, other than bragging rights that you are in a certain skin, right? And I think that's a good way. I mean, you're still going to get people who are going to throw money at stuff, but if the gameplay changes, then that loot crate kind of model comes back into play. And you know, just like governments around GTA and trying to ban, you know, certain violence in video games, this is almost heads and tails above that, because now you're going to get like 6 and 7-year-olds that are going to be all over this game because it's Star Wars and their parents don't care. And they're going to be like, hey, Mom, I want this for, and it's like Roblox, right? You can throw money at Roblox and, you know, you'll never, it's a black hole. It's a black hole.
Trust me, I have first-hand knowledge of the Roblox black hole. I know, Jedi Fallen Order got it's getting like a next gen, or I guess current gen patch, like very, very soon. I'm assuming PS5 and Series X and stuff. Yeah, I don't think there's like an official release date for it, but I know I keep saying this, but I really do want to keep playing that game. Like it was such a good game. But I had a hard time getting used to the fact that like you had access to almost everything immediately, but like there's some things you shouldn't do yet because you're too weak, if you know what I mean. Like it was like, yeah, you can go fight that boss if you want. You're gonna get fucking killed, but go for it. I'm like, what? And then you'd go try to fight this boss and you'd get immediately annihilated. I'm like, oh, this is supposed to happen, right? It's one of those like planned cinematic kills. I'm like, nope, he just killed you because you're way too low level. I'm like, oh shit, this is weird. This is that type of game. It's like a Metroid style game where it's like you can go do stuff, but you probably shouldn't. You should probably go level up first or like unlock things. And like once I got the hang of that, I was like, okay, and I just moved on to something else. But like Jedi Fallen Order is such a good game. It was like the characters are amazing and like the gameplay itself was amazing, but I think this might be the reason to kind of like push me back into it.
I tell you, I went to Dathomir first.
Yeah, so
play that game.
So even right off the bat, it's like, which one of these two planets do you want to go to? If you go to the wrong one, you're gonna have a bad time.
So they tell you like the little like pilot dude is like, well, I don't fucking know about that. Like, and so I went anyway. And
That's what I did.
I was there with my brother-in-law. This is one of those seminal gaming moments where we're both like, no, better. Don't worry about it. It's okay. So we went. The next 4 hours we spent on Dathomir, let me tell you, it was horrible. Like just getting trounced and destroyed until finally we beat kind of like a mini boss type thing, and we got access to a super awesome weapon that is now currently in Mike's field of view here that you don't get access to otherwise. So now, like, we did this thing, we got to that point, we fucking left the planet as soon as we could after that, and went to the planet that we were supposed to go to, but now we have this cool-ass weapon that allows for crowd control and a completely different gameplay experience on these other planets. So very, very Metroidvania style, but also, like, if you just want to brute force this, like, go for it. You know, you're welcome to try.
Yeah,
and you'll get rewarded for it if you actually are able to break through and do the thing. I thought that was kind of a unique approach to it.
Yeah, it was very, very unique. It like the characters in the game looked shockingly good. I was like, what the hell? Like it's still some of the best character models I think I've ever seen in the game. I can't remember the name. The black woman that's on the ship with you. I can't remember her name, but she was like an amazing looking character model. Like I've actually, when I saw her, I was like, I've seen you in a movie before. Wait a minute, this is a video game character. What the hell? She just looked like the voice actress. But it was really cool. I know the only other Star Wars game that's kind of like come out recently was the Star Wars Pinball VR, which is hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
But I've heard a lot of like actually good things about it. I'm like, huh? How the hell? Okay, that's weird. But like, yeah, it came out. I don't actually know what. I think it came out on PS4, PS5, whatever. And I don't know if it was like an Oculus exclusive or whatever, or if it's on Steam as well. But I know it's like something like 10 different Star Wars pinball games all in one package in VR. I never thought of playing pinball in VR. I'm like, what? But now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, that would be kind of cool actually, because you could like actually see what's happening on the board.
Yeah.
Like,
so
kind of neat idea.
They're if you haven't played them, and Nick's nodding his head, they're the Zen pinball ones. Like they're a ton of fun.
I've played those.
Very, like, they're not your they're your digital pinball.
Yeah.
Games, right? They're not your traditional pinball games. So, funny you mentioned that. Like I'm thinking about for my new home office and my new place that I'm coming into in the summer, getting the 1UP arcade.
Yeah, the screen Star Wars or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like so then you get the full like pinball experience. It's still the game. It's still Zen pinball, but then you get them with the playing field, and you get like the board in the back and everything like that. So I just need to work on my wife, like convincing her that this is a solid investment in my life.
It's not an investment by any means. It is a pure expense.
So I would hold off on that one a little longer, only because this is their first gen stuff. And I know that they have the Marvel pinball machines kind of lined up. They have a couple of different pinball machines lined up. What will happen, much like the 1UP other arcades, is they'll have enterprising individuals who will go out of their way to figure out how to go about enhancing that, right? Because these screens are obviously mass-produced. They're relatively okay resolution. Construction-wise is fine. Back headboard is fine, but I already know of a bunch of people that have gone over there, taken the whole thing apart, dropped in like a whole bunch of other upgrade, like larger rocker kits and stuff like that. So when you're hitting bumpers and stuff like that, like it really goes. And all of that is to enhance the overall feel of the machine, right? One thing that I know people have done is they've increased the size of the actual screen. They've been able to find slightly bigger ones that fit bigger, because when you think of pinball machine, obviously there is no screen traditionally. So the bezel on this obviously is a factor. So they've tried to find better ways of factoring in bigger monitors. And I think they've actually had to go with PC monitors just because the TV form factor obviously is not conducive. And monitor form factors are all over the frickin' place. But again, it's a black hole. How much do you want to throw into something within a marginal way of looking at it? But then other people have gone in there and dropped in whole Raspberry Pis, and they've added a whole virtual pinball system to it, right? And virtual pinball has been around for quite a long time, but people have made full-size pinball machines. You throw in all the Indiana Jones stuff, you throw in like any pinball that's been virtualized, and you essentially get that exposure and that experience. But yeah, be warned, it's all out there. And but I think these Gen 1 systems, I mean, even with the TMNT, it was a Gen 3, right? And so you can see remarkable improvements in the construction and the overall build of it. But
That's a good point.
Yeah, do it.
Just don't
do
even.
it. Just
Why?
do it.
Why are you?
Why are you listening to Nick? Just do it.
No. Why even this is even a discussion for your wife? I don't understand. Like, how is it involved?
Oh, Nick, when all the money flows into one account,
Yeah.
Okay, that's your one issue. But, I'm one of many. I'm sure.
It's a non-reversible issue.
Yeah. See, I dodged that bullet. Never had that problem. So.
Speaking of other Star Wars games coming out, there's a really shitty looking Star Wars Hunters game coming out for mobile and Switch.
It's
What?
a mobile game too.
You want to play a competitive arena combat game? Nope.
I actually want to play a competitive arena combat Star Wars game. Thank you.
Is it a battle royale?
Oh,
No.
probably.
Oh, no, it's not.
If it's free,
Excuse me,
if it's free on mobile, I will download it and
Is it
try
games
it.
as a service?
I think it's gonna be free to play. There was a beta for it, and I'm pretty sure the best way to explain it is basically Force Arena, but more upgraded. So if anybody played Force Arena, it's essentially it's a real-time strategy game with cards, essentially. It's like a card battler.
No.
Oh, so it's like Hearthstone and or Hearthstone type of thing.
Hearthstone, but then it's Hearthstone.
It's fucking Hearthstone. What do you want me to say? It's
Oh,
got
there's a good
might as
card
well-
game.
you might as well just
Tower
play-
one or whatever it's called.
Might as well just play Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that. Jeez.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Jesus Christ.
Play
The other Star Wars game that's coming out, which I am legitimately looking forward to, and I don't care what anyone says, is Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
I'll make fun of you for that.
The thing is, this is like literally every single Star Wars movie ever, including Rogue One and Solo, and it's like through the entire. And from what I've heard, is they've completely revamped the kind of gameplay mechanic for the whole Lego Star Wars games, because they've all been the same. They've all been like, you go into a room, you smash the fuck out of everything you see, you do maybe one puzzle, and then you move on to the next room and do the same thing over and over and again. They're fun enough, but apparently with this new one, it's quite a lot more dynamic and a lot more interesting. Like the gameplay is more. It basically what they've been saying is it's gonna be a lot different than the previous, whatever it's been, 9 Lego Star Wars games that they've released. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked. It looks really great. They've been spending a crapload of time making it, so they still have no freaking release date for it. It's just like 2021 sometime, maybe. So,
But Lego games are moneymakers. Like I've played a lot of them, and I
Oh,
always
yeah.
found the more powerful the more powerful consoles are a little bit better. I just find the Switch tends to get a little janky on its resolution.
dude, I played the Lego City Undercover, I think it was.
That was fun.
I played that on I think it was on the Switch or the Wii U or something like that. It was fine, and then it came out on, I think it was Xbox One or PS4. I can't remember which one, but it was so much better. It was just like it was a much more powerful machine that I played it on the second time. Everything was better. It loaded faster. Everything was quicker. Everything looked better. The controls
An
were
extra
smoother.
frames per second make a big difference.
It does, man.
When
In a
you're
game like
talking
that,
about,
in a game like that, you're playing for 20 hours. I'm like, yeah, it does. It's a massive difference, right?
I'd be interested in picking that up for a console. I mean, we've always played it on the Switch. Just my kids like to get into it type of thing. It's one of their boredom games. And,
You have a Series X, right?
Huh?
You have a Series X, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Lego, like the new Skywalker one for Series X would be great.
Well, Aiden's got my my old Scorpio up in the front room, and
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'll work on both too. That's the nice thing.
Yeah.
Fellas, we've been chatting for a very long time. I think it's a good time to say goodbye to our massive audience out there. I think we will be back next week with something a little bit different. I know there's going to be... I have a few ideas for some future shows, which may or may not include like an in-review type deal for certain games, certain shows, certain movies. But yeah, I want it to be fun. I want people to actually want to listen to it. So there you go. I bid you all.
I want to listen to it, Dan.
You want to listen?
I want to listen to it.
Well, that's all that matters, Richard. That's all that matters. Oh, we got Tails.
Hello, meow meow.
Where's Sonic?
He's too fat. He's probably slumming someplace up in underneath the kid's bed or someplace. Oof.
Nick's pussy is on his lap. And on that note, I'll say goodnight.